Hi, this is Digital Beersborn. Welcome back to AP Art History. I missed you. This week we're talking about the indigenous Americas. We've been focusing mostly on South America, specifically Peru. For the last two pieces, we've been talking about the Incan Empire. We're going to finish our look at Incan architecture by talking about Machu Picchu. On your image sheet, you'll see three photos from Machu Picchu. This image, this structure, and this as well. Let's start with the context. Now, recently we talked about the city of Cusco. Cusco, if you remember, is the capital city of the Incan Empire in the 15th and 16th century. It's where we saw the Cora Concha. Now, Cusco and the site of Machu Picchu are very close to each other. They're both located in the Andes Mountains, and it's about a 3-day walk between the two sites. The patron of Machu Picchu is this guy, Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui. He was the first Incan emperor in the 15th century. As emperor, he used his resources and his power to build the site of Machu Picchu. Now let's talk about the form. Machu Picchu is interesting because it's located up on the steep, sloping peaks of the Andes Mountains. This landscape would be very difficult to build and very difficult to live on because it's so steep that you can't really grow plants. You can't turn it into farmland easily. What the Incan people did is they transformed those steep, sloping hillsides into a series of flat steppes. These are called terraces. A terrace is a flat step that transforms sloping hillside into usable land. They used terraces on Machu Picchu to grow things like maize and to raise livestock like llamas. If you remember, recently we talked about the Altiacapu tunic. One of the materials of the Altiacapu tunic was wool that was made out of llama hair. Llamas are a main livestock of the Incan Empire. They didn't have cows or sheep, but they had a lot of llamas. So they depended on llamas for a lot of resources. Here's a photo of a llama. And this is another llama at Machu Picchu. Here's another one. These are llamas. And this is a llama as well. Here we see another llama at Machu Picchu. These llamas. And this one. This also is a llama at Machu Picchu. And this one as well. These three are also llamas. Now, the architecture at Machu Picchu is built using large stones that were specifically cut to fit with their neighboring stones. If you remember, recently we talked about something similar in the city of Cusco. In the Sacsayhuaman, we saw architecture that was using what we call ashlar masonry. And ashlar masonry is architecture that uses stones carefully cut to fit exactly together without the use of concrete. The Incan used ashlar masonry at Machu Picchu as well. I might also point out a common shape that's used in Incan architecture. If you look at the window of this structure, see how it's kind of it's a trapezoid shape that's a little bit wider at the bottom and gets skinnier at the top. This overall structure is also a similar trapezoid shape. It's very common in Incan architecture. A lot of the structures, the windows and the buildings themselves, will be larger at the bottom and narrower at the top. Now, the function of Machu Picchu It was built under the direction of Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, the first emperor of the Incan Empire. He lived in the city of Cusco. As emperor, that's where he reigned from. As the capital of this large empire, that's where most of the imperial business would take place. Machu Picchu is located close by at a little bit of a lower altitude where the weather is more pleasant, where the scenery is more picturesque, and where it's much more peaceful. Machu Picchu was built by Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui as a place to escape the business of the city of Cusco. When he wanted to get away from his duties as emperor, when he wanted to take a vacation, he would move to Machu Picchu. Only the emperor was allowed in Machu Picchu, as well as elite royalty and servants to serve them. Now, in addition to the royal residence, there were also a number of buildings that were religious sites as well, like this, for example. This building is called the Observatory. It's also known as the Temple of the Sun. The function of this building is to track the movement of celestial bodies, like the sun and constellations. A lot of the religious observances of the Incans depended on specific dates that are marked by movements of the sun and movements of specific stars. The observatory is called the observatory because the windows that are cut into this building align perfectly with the sun and different constellations at different specific moments in the year. For example, this window here lines up perfectly with the rise of the sun on the summer solstice. The other photo you'll see on your image sheet is this. This is called the Intihuatana stone. It's also known as the hitching post of the sun. The function of this is similar to the observatory. It's a tool used to trace the movement of the sun throughout the year. Much like a sundial, depending on where the sun is in the sky, the shadow that's projected by this protruding post will change directions and length depending on the season. At 2 times during the year, on the summer solstice and the winter solstice, the sun will be right over the top of this stone. And when that happens, no shadow will be projected. This was used to mark specific religious rituals that would only take place on these solstices. The name the hitching post of the sun is derived from the fact that the sun revolves around the post as if it is tied or hitched to it. Now, this next part is not important for your notes, but you might notice some damage on the Intihuatana stone. The reason for that is because in the year 2000, a company was filming a beer commercial at Machu Picchu. One of the cranes they were using for the camera fell over and it broke the Intihuatana stone. The stone was repaired, but the Peruvian government no longer allows beer commercials to be filmed at Machu Picchu. And that concludes our look at the Incan architectural site of Machu Picchu.